cold night in Moscow. It was a freezing winter evening in Moscow. Snowflakes danced in the air as Donald Trump's private jet landed at Vnukovo Airport. He had come for a private business event, but little did he know, his trip would take an unexpected turn. Meanwhile, Vladimir Putin was at the Kremlin, finishing up a long day of meetings. The Russian president rarely had time for surprises, but tonight would be different. A sudden change of plans. Trump had planned to head straight to his hotel, but his security team received an unusual message. President Putin wanted to meet, not in an official setting, not in a grand hall, but in a small, private setting away from the media. Curious, Trump agreed. His car changed course, heading towards an undisclosed location in Moscow. Inside a traditional Russian restaurant, Putin sat at a corner table, sipping tea. He wasn't surrounded by guards, no press, no cameras. Just two world leaders about to have an honest conversation. A candid conversation. When Trump entered, Putin stood up and extended his hand. "Mr. Trump," Putin said with a slight smile. "Mr. President," Trump replied with his signature grin. As they sat down, the tension of politics and diplomacy seemed to fade away. For the first time, they weren't speaking as presidents, but as two men who had shaped the modern world. They talked about power, leadership, and the weight of responsibility. They shared stories of their struggles, their victories, and even their regrets. Trump, never one to hold back, leaned in and asked, "What do you think people will remember us for?" Putin took a sip of his tea, his expression unreadable. "History will decide. But in the end, power is not about holding the world in your hands. It's about what you leave behind." For a moment there was silence. A night to remember. The meeting lasted for hours. They discussed the future, global challenges, and their own legacies. It wasn't about agreements or deals. It was about understanding the human side of leadership. As Trump stood up to leave, Putin smirked. "You know, Donald," he said, "you're a tough negotiator. Maybe in another life we would have been business partners instead of world leaders." Trump chuckled. "Or maybe competitors, Vlad. But one thing's for sure, history won't forget us." With that, the two men shook hands one last time. The snow continued to fall over Moscow as their cars disappeared into the night. Two powerful figures, two different paths, but one unexpected moment of understanding.